Hey friends, it's Tracy. Welcome to today's video. I have some brand new spring and Easter crafts and DIYs to share with you using some things in my stash and also sharing some of my whimsical touches. All right, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. These paper mache tulips came from the Target dollar spot several years ago. I've had them in my stash and just was never really inspired to create with them until now. They were $3 and I just like the size of them. And so ever since Whitney sent me this fabric in my DIY mystery box that we did, I'm inspired. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do for my tulips. And so I'm going to be attaching some fabric to both sides of the tulip. All right, so I just took the lavender paint and just painted the sides of the tulips. And then I was going to add that gingham moss green to the actual, like the stem of the flower, but I just changed my mind and decided to do some crackling. And so I painted it a coat of the plaster color chalk paint, and then now I'm going in with some school glue and adding that to the stem and just taking a foam brush and just spreading that around and letting that dry almost to where it's dry. And then I go in with some moss color chalk paint and add that to it, and then just let it dry on its own, and it gives me some crackles, and I love this. It just, I don't know, it just gives the bit of whimsy that I like. And I had to do each side separately so that it would have the time to dry. I just let it dry on its own, and it turned out beautiful. All right, for the fabric, now this is the beautiful fabric that Whitney sent to me in my DIY mystery box. If you missed that video, I will leave a link for that here. I just used my Cricut mini press just to press out the creases so that I could cut it apart into sections and not have to worry about that crease. So I'm using the Mod Podge heat transfer method, and if you're not familiar with that, I'll just quickly explain. You just put Mod Podge on your surface, let that dry completely. Then I use my Cricut mini press. You could use a small iron. I use parchment paper to kind of add as a buffer, and then I just put the fabric on the tulip. I added it to both sides, and I love the way that this looks. It just looks so springy and just beautiful. All right, so for the moss and cream colored gingham fabric, I just tore strips of that and just tying it around the stem of the flower, just in a bow. And then of course, fabric is a little limp, so I used my Stiffen Quick fabric spray just to add a little bit of body for my flowers. And you can get that stiffen spray anywhere glues or adhesive fabric is sold. And I love the way that my tulips turned out. I am so happy, and they pair so nicely with my lavender bunny that I did recently. Now, if you didn't see that video, I will link to it. Look in the description as well as in the iCard. And I'm just loving all of this little collection together. Here are some of the supplies I'm using for this arrangement. The bunny butt came from Dollar Tree. The Easter pick came from Hobby Lobby. The Spanish moss came from Walmart. Now, to fill my bucket, I am going to use this tight foam. And let me tell you, not a fan. I could not get it to work. I don't know if it was just my can. I followed the directions, and anyway, I did not like it at all. Will not be using it again. Anyway, it's like gaps and cracks or something. I've seen many other floral makers use some of this, so I don't know, maybe it was just my can, but I could not get it to come out, and it was just not working good. All right, so then now I'm just I'm using some Aleene's tacky glue as well as that green moss just to get into my can. And then the Easter pick, as I said, as I mentioned, came from Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to start including just adding the florals and the greenery and the flowers and all that stuff into my bucket to start building this arrangement. I'll continue to add some different textures and greenery, some pit berries, just different things that I had in my stash that I wanted to add to my arrangement. For my bow, I'm using this burlap polka dot ribbon. Now this came from Sam's, and I'm just using, I'm doing a 6 loop bow, 3 on each side. And so what I do is I make a loop, twist it in the middle, then I turn it, like flip it so that the right side of the ribbon is on top. And I'll just continue doing that by twisting it in the middle and flipping it so the right side of the ribbon is on top. Now I was, to secure it all, I used a zip tie, and then I was going to use a U-pin to stick it into the foam, but it didn't work. It's too stiff. So I had to pull out one of these floral picks to get it to stick into that foam. Again, I'm not a fan. Okay, so one of these signs, I do have these signs in my Amazon shop, but they're a little bit longer, and so I had to kind of cut it down. I just used my box blade and my scissors just to kind of give it the jagged edge on one of the ends. And so the Happy Easter is from a pack from Hobby Lobby, and I just painted that with Poodle Skirt Pink. Then for the sign, I just used some plaster, chalk paint, and just doing my faux plaid pattern. I'm doing that with Drizzle Gray. Then I kind of work in sections as I'm, painting little signs like this, like while one's drying, I work on a different part of it. So I added some dots, just some polka dots with my stylus to the Happy Easter sign. And so then while that's drying, then I am adding some brown shading to my sign. All right, so I have one of these large craft sticks. I get them from a pack from Walmart, and then just cut a point at the end. I added some stain to it with a baby wipe, and then once I get that all stained, then I will add just a little bit of dry brushing for my sign. And I just stick my sign in there just like that. And this is how it looks all together. I just love it so much. Just those little bunny butts just really add a lot to your spring arrangement. I'm starting with a 15-inch wood round from burrowwood.com. The high chip decor is from Hobby Lobby, and the paint color I'm using is Plaster Waverly chalk paint that I get from Walmart. So I gave it a couple of coats of that, as well as this high. Now, of course, they put that pesty sticker right there, right in the front, because this is chip decor, and it kind of pulled off the front. So it's like, why did you put it on the the front. Anyway, I just dealt with that. Okay, so I'm going to do my faux plaid pattern, and how I do it, my method is I'm using my fan brush, and I use about half of the bristles, just dipping it in paint. Now this pink color is Lisa Pink by Ceramcoat, and so I just go down vertically, and then I go back and go horizontal, and it was a little bit too bright, so I took one of these brushes from the Dollar Tree and just kind of did like a dry brushing technique just to kind of soften that pink up a bit, and that I like that much better. Okay, so then I hand drew this bunny pattern out, and I'll be honest with you, when I finished doing this, I'm like, that kind of looks like a pig with long ears. Yes, I know everybody sees it, but I just had to go with it. I put too much time and effort into this painting, so I kind of see why now they have, when people paint bunnies or that kind of thing, they put a bend in the ear. Anyway, but this was my first one that I did. And so the next time I do it, I will put a bend in the ear so that it looks a little bit more like a bunny versus a pig with long ears. Okay, so then I'm taking some of that plaster chalk paint and just filling it in. And I think I had to give this 2 coats or maybe 3. And, I know that I could have traced this out and then did the background, but in the way my brain works, that wouldn't work. So I just had to paint over it. Okay, so then now I'm taking a flat tip paintbrush and just going around and giving it a border. And this blue color is Bahama Blue. That is a Deco Art Americana color. And so I just love it for this little whimsical bunny door hanger. Okay, so then once all of that is dry, for some shading, I am using Dolphin Gray and just using a smaller flat paintbrush and dipping half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. And then I'm just going around that faux plaid pattern. I'm going to go around the bunny and everything else because I want to give it a softness. For the inner part of the bunny's ear, I'm just going in with fuchsia color of pink and that one of those brushes from the Dollar Tree. I like it. I like these little brushes. This is the first time that I've been using these in this project, so I'll be using them in more projects because I like the wispiness of it. And so I give it several coats until I got the coverage that I wanted. I totally forgot to make my cheeks that I like to do before I start putting on my nose. So I had to improvise and go in and put that in after I had painted the nose. And so of course it was a little dark, so I just took my finger and some plaster chalk paint and I just kind of softened that up a little bit more. And so then I made some wispiness or just kind of like the plaid whimsical cheeks that I like. I just make just kind of a little stripes and then horizontal, and then I do vertical as well. And so then to add a little bit more whimsy, I'm just taking the end of a small paintbrush and dipping it in that fuchsia paint and just going in between the stripes to give it a dot, just to give it a pop of color. I also added a plaid pattern to the inner part of the ears just with a small flat tip paintbrush and my detailing brush. I go back later and add a few more stripes. Now a detailing brush, if that is not something that you can find, this is an old brush that I've had for many years. A lot of the bristles have fallen out. The handle is broken and I love it so much. It's like one of my favorite brushes that I have. So if you can't find one, just find a thin liner brush, take out some of the bristles, pull them out or cut them out, and then you'll have, you just want a few bristles on a detailing brush. All right, so then now what I'm doing is going to make the eyes, and I like the more almond shape whimsical eyes. There are a lot of painters that do eyes differently. You can use the end of a paintbrush. You can use, different styles of, just researching, Googling how to do eyes, and I just like the more almond shaped eyes I use. I draw them out with my friction pen, then I go back in and fill them in with black paint. I use my little detailing brush to add some eyelashes. All my whimsical characters have eyelashes, and you know, all the cute little whimsical touches. I will leave a video here if you haven't seen it. I have put a collection video together of all of my whimsical characters. All right, so then I go back in and add some lines in between on that Bahama blue, and that darker turquoise is called Desert Turquoise, and that's Deco Art Americana brand as well. All right, so then I'm just taking a flat paintbrush and going in and making the eyes and making some whimsical touches, shading and doodling, just putting the white in the eyes. Depending on how you put the white in the eyes will depend on how your little character is looking. And so, as I say, guys, the beauty is in the details. All right, so then I go back and add some whimsical touches of just with my faux plat pattern. So I'm using the ultrafine Sharpie marker and going around and adding that for my bunny. And so to actually outline the actual bunny, I use my fine Sharpie marker. It was a little bit thicker. I wanted that. And so, as I say, I just love my doodles and my black Sharpie marker. And I'm so glad that you are here, guys. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, my name is Tracy, and I do love to share crafty ideas with a bit of rustic country charm. I have tons of videos on my channel. I would love it if you would check out my library, my playlist, and maybe consider subscribing if you are not already a subscriber. For the chip decor, which is the word hi, I had given it a coat of the plaster color chalk paint. Then I went back and gave it 2 coats of the desert turquoise color of paint. That's a Deco Art color. And then I'm using my flat paint brush just to give it some shading. Then I'll use my little detailing brush to give it some highlights. I just really feel that this makes my projects pop, and I am so grateful that the Lord has sent you to my channel, that if you like this style of painting as well. And then I use my stylus to go in and add some polka dots, just dipping in the paint every single time just to get a consistent dot on my letters. And then I will add some black paint splattering because I love to paint splatter my projects. I really feel that it just really adds the look that I am going for. And I just use a stiff brush and a stick, pull the stick across the bristles of the paintbrush, and then that projects onto my project. And also what I did to give it a little more whiskers, I just took my black Sharpie marker and just drew on some whiskers, made a cute little messy bow, added that to the top. For the hanger, what I used is just some pink wire that I had on hand in my stash. Now I gave my door hanger a coat of varnish. I like to use this varnish. I get it from the craft store, or I have it in my Amazon shop. And I love the way that this cute whimsical bunny door hanger turned out.